Welcome, Make It Rain fans, to another episode of Make It Rain, episode number 6. Time is flying right along here in the NFL season. Make It Rain, presented by Metaverse HQ. Thanks for joining us, Jake, Theric, and JJ. How's everything going, fellas?
Going good.
Doing excellent. Can't complain.
Living the dream.
JJ has cotton fire here in Reignmakers and wanted to put on the stunner shades for everyone to let you know who's boss, who's binking every week. But no, in all seriousness, I know JJ just had some LASIK surgery done, so he is fighting the good fight here, and I appreciate you coming on board, man.
Hey, thanks for that. Nice win there. Pays for my whole surgery, so it's nicer that way.
Yeah, there we go.
That's why we do it, baby, right? All right, excellent. Well, as we do every week, we can dive right into the upcoming slate, marketplace angles and strategies to take, find some edges along the way, and all that fun stuff. So as we usually do, we like to review a lineup from the cast here that did well or something that we can learn from the previous weeks. JJ, once again, ended up binking a showdown contest last week in last week's slate, and took home another $5,000 for his efforts here in Reignmakers. JJ, congratulations, my friend. Another big week. To be honest, I think we've had a couple big hits, but this is our actual first bink, first takedown. So why don't you go ahead and talk us through your lineup here?
Oh yeah, you're right, Poop. It's actually our first takedown. We've gotten dangerously close, like a couple of times. Like Jake had a second, you had a second, I had a second. But yeah, got lucky here. As always, you need a little bit of luck to take these down. I had Romeo Dobbs pretty much locked in, and Aaron Jones locked in. Josh Allen at the captain and Diggs. So pretty much, I guess, close to the optimal, if not the optimal. But really just outkicked people on tie breaks. I think there was a 3-way tie at the top. So really focused on the serials there. Had a total of 56. So that was good enough to take it down. I think the next closest had like 108 or something like that. But yeah, my second lineup actually scored in the top 10 as well, where I had Aaron Rodgers in the captain, and almost took the first and second place. If Aaron Rodgers threw a touchdown at the end of the game there. But yeah, what was interesting to note was people were just really scared of playing this really expensive contest and not playing Josh Allen at the captain, right? Like, you could have gotten a better score with both Aaron Jones and Diggs at the captain slot, and nobody did that with this version of the lineup. So I thought that was interesting there. And I think you'll see it into Thursday night's game too with Jalen Hurts. A lot of people are just going to throw Jalen Hurts in the captain slot. So something to think about when you're going into these slates with a big name quarterback who's pretty expensive and superstar is that they're likely going to put that guy at the captain, so you can get leverage there going into the future games.
Yeah, those are great points, JJ. Appreciate you touching on that winning lineup. Lots of things to digest and think about there, and exactly thinking how the competition is going to also play their lineups is a big part of the edge here as well. And I think you've diagnosed it very nicely. And another nice hit for you to take home to the misses.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I think you made a great point on the on getting off the board a bit. The field's not doing it very much. They're going, like you said, your lineup got duped 2 or 3 times. This exact one, but no one played Aaron Jones, no one played Steph Diggs captain with the same lineup. And I mean, yes, you're giving up some points on your projection. It's not going to be the full optimal. But if you do go that route, being able to get different and hit that very top prize, because a lot of these vast majorities, especially the big tournaments, they're super top heavy with their prizes. So if you're duping and you don't have low enough serials, then you're really giving up a lot of EV by not being able to hit the very top prize. So if you know that you have like higher serials for your lineup, but it's probably gonna be pretty popular, just switching it up a little bit and making one of these other guys, Aaron Jones, Steph Diggs as your captain instead, I think gives you some good leverage on the field.
Yeah, great point there, especially with the whole duping thing, and if you don't have good enough cereals, right? Because I'll just show you, like, sixth place I think drops all the way from $5,000 to $500, and then you go to ninth place, it's 300, and then 10th place it's 200. So I mean, you're duped 10 times, you're already the max you can win is $200. So really gotta think differently sometimes, and it makes sense when people are playing a $1,500 player. Why wouldn't they put them at captain, right? So got a lot of emotions going on there for sure.
All right, JJ. Well, again, congratulations. Appreciate you touching on your lineup, and great points there as well, Jake and Theric, to kind of help the conversation along. We'll transition into taking a look behind the scenes of some contest data and metrics that Big Theric has been observing over the past week or so. Theric, did you want to go ahead and touch on what you're seeing and what's working and not working?
Yeah. So right now it seems to be people are starting to get a little bit better about what's good chalk and what's bad chalk. I'm seeing some people, or the amount of the amount of defense players, the amount of kickers lowering, amount of tight ends lowering as well. Something I do see though that seems to be a trend is people are overstacking in core and in rare, where the tournament size can be anywhere from a couple thousand to tens of thousands, and they're doing a full game stack. Now it can work. We saw that game between Seattle and Detroit in week, what was that, 5, that completely went off and broke the slate. But it's extremely rare, and it's really going to hurt your upside. And a lot of times those players still aren't going to be the absolute optimal. If it's in a smaller, if you're playing in a couple 100-man tournament, if the competition, it works well, and that's what a lot of people see. They see the Studley players up there in Legendary and Reignmakers playing these styles and thinking that works for any contest size. And the goal for that style of build is you're trying to make as few guesses as possible on what goes right. And so if you only need to guess one game flow and you can stack that game all the way up, you're going to get a really decent score. You're not going to get anywhere near the optimal score, but you're probably going to put yourself in a really good position, because you're off some chalk clearly if you did that, and you're only competing against a few players. But if you're competing against thousands of players, there is going to be some top scores that you miss. And we especially saw it this past week when everybody went off. I think I had a score of, let me bring it up really quick. I had a score of 159.88 on one of the contests, which would take down tournaments on some of the weeks that we've had before. But I only got up to 84th place, and that was because while all my guys went off, I had Tua double stack with Hill and Waddle. They all put up above 30 points. I had Pollard that put up 36. I had Cup that put up 22, and which is great. But Cup got outscored by Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Hill and Waddle, I believe Waddle got outscored by DeAndre Hopkins, and Alvin Kamara beat Pollard out in that regard. And so doing it this way did a really good score. But when you have those individual pieces that just absolutely put up a ridiculous ceiling game, you are probably hurting yourself. If I had done a Tua, Hill, Waddle, Amon-Ra, St. Brown stack in this, I would have done even worse in this contest. Amon-Ra didn't even put up that terrible of a score. I think he put up 15, 16, something like that. But it's still just because of how many different pieces in different games just put up ceiling scores. And this week is an anomaly, but the purpose of all this is you're going to be missing out on some upside, and the more people in the contest that you play against, the closer you're going to have to get to hitting the nuts. And it almost never is going to be a full game stack that's going to hit the nuts. So that would be one thing, is to think about like what would need to happen to get the absolute perfect score for the slate. And if a full game stack has a 1 in a billion chance of doing that, then you probably shouldn't be doing it in core. Now, once again, legendary Rainmaker, perfectly fine. Even in some of the elite contests, it's probably fine to do, 4 out of 5 positions from a single game in some of the lower competing contests. But if you're playing with 6,000, 7,000, 20,000, there's going to be people that hit on the nuts for a lot of the players. And so you're going to need to find a game, but also find the individual pieces out there that also put up a legendary score. So that's the main thing I'm seeing is people are trying to overstack too much because they're looking at the top players, y'all up there in the higher tier contests, and they're trying to mimic that when it just doesn't work for the contest.
Contest selection is always so important in games like this, in DFS and obviously Rainmakers as well. All very fair and awesome points, Derek. Thank you very much for taking time to touch on that. We can take the time now to transition into probably the biggest news item of the week for Reignmakers, and we are heading into week 9 now of the NFL season. And with that came the first major update to the Reignmakers Superstar list. Obviously, we know superstars are players that are limited to just one per lineup, right? And obviously, they try to capture the most notable and most productive players across the league. And we've seen some changes, for better or for worse, across the landscape of the marketplace. Derek, did you want to loosely touch in, and then we can get into a little bit of group discussion about what we're seeing with the superstar adjustments and how it's affecting your builds going into this week?
So yeah, we saw some big changes on the superstars this week. It went differently, honestly, than I was expecting it to. I was expecting them to go really hardcore and just make as many people as possible superstars, and they really did not do that. They actually lowered the amount of superstars overall. They made some smart choices. They added Jalen Hurts. They added Saquon, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, but those 4 and Joe Burrow were the only superstars added. And then they removed Aaron Rodgers. They removed Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Deebo Samuel. And so we actually ended up with less superstars in the end. And I expected all those people to be added except for Joe Burrow, but I guess it makes more sense now that Jamar Chase is out for a while. But I was surprised they didn't get more aggressive because it just kind of shifts around the playing field. And I think there's still going to be some really chalky players. Obviously, Diggs is going to be everybody's going to be paying down for Diggs. I think if Hopkins continues this streak, everybody's going to be paying down for him. The running back landscape, to be perfectly honest, it got a little bit more interesting in my mind because they really did take out pretty much everyone that was just crushing it to a point that you weren't really willing to play anybody else but Saquon or Chubb in those slates. But they also opened it up where there's a lot more boom and bust running backs now and that you can play that aren't superstars. Dalvin Cook has had some amazing games, but he hasn't been consistent. Like he can give you 25, 30 points, but he can also give you, 10, 15. A lot of the other ones are like that are still out there too. Like there's a lot of running backs that aren't superstars that can give you 30-point games, no problem. But Aaron Jones can also give you a 10-point game. He can give you 30. He can give you 10. And then the other trend that I saw was they really broke the tier on quarterbacks. They made it so superstar quarterbacks are truly superstar quarterbacks. And then you have this kind of this middle 1B tier that's Tua and Kyler Murray. And then you have everybody else where it's like, maybe 1 week out of the season, they'll really hit hard. But it's interesting. And I'm still not sure how to play it because the chalk is going to be jamming those quarterbacks. Like those are going to be your superstars because they have the highest ceiling of everything. And then just build your running backs and receivers around that. But there's receivers and running backs that can also hit 30, 40, like Tyreek Hill can hit a 40-point game. I know like quarterbacks can do it, but Tyreek Hill can easily hit a 40-point game with Austin Eckler's workload, he can hit 35, 40 points in the right game script. And so I'm thinking in tournaments, like a good pivot would be to find those players that have those type of ceilings and go in on those more. But I am selling off some of my superstar players that aren't the QBs, just because most weeks I think you're gonna, just because of the point differential between a Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and playing like a Jared Goff or whatever. Jared Goff, we saw, can put up a huge score, but on average, the difference between a good Josh Allen week and a good Jared Goff week is it's probably way bigger of a gap than a difference between an amazing Austin Eckler week and a Travis Etienne week. So that's
Very
where my
good
thought
points.
is right now.
Yeah, all good points. JJ, Jake, any thoughts there?
Yeah, totally agree. Just kind of tough to play, tough to think about how the landscape's going to change with this. Definitely finding myself spreading out more amongst having more superstars rather than consolidating to the quarterbacks, even though I've picked up more of the quarterbacks that are superstars just because of the reasons that Derek has mentioned, the point differential between like a Jalen Hurts and, the next bottom tier or lower tier is, usually immense. But I do like it. It's forcing you to make more decisions, like especially this week, you got to choose between like Josh Allen, Eckler, Hill, and maybe one other person, right? And it's just going to amplify those decisions in the weeks where they're all kind of lining up, right? Because when I'm playing Eckler, it's like, well, who do I play him with now? I can play him with Tua, but I really want Tyreek Hill if I'm playing Tua, so I can play Tua with Waddle, and it's not as safe feeling as it would have been if I could play all three of those players with Eckler in there.
Yeah, I was also like Thayer touched on too. I was also surprised by them actually reducing the amount of superstars instead of adding, which I certainly was expecting them to be a little bit more aggressive with adding more on there. Like guys like Kamara, I thought might get bumped up to that level. And then removing guys like, Jamar Chase was a surprise and swapping for Burrow. I guess it kind of makes sense in that Chase is hurt now, so they took him out. I see why they did it, but it was definitely took me by surprise. And then guys like CD, who are kind of like borderline, Dalvin borderline, choosing to remove them was interesting to me. I think all in all, it is. I don't know exactly where I stand on how many superstars there should be. Do you guys have a strong stance on that? I do see both sides, and like it's nice to have more in that it kind of limits how many studs you can put in one lineup to diversify a bit, but you don't want to go overboard and adding more to sway the market. So I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on like the number of superstars that you think is like a good balance.
So for me, I'm kind of, especially now that I've played some of the So Rare NBA, I feel like the superstar system is a little bit flawed. They either have to be extremely aggressive, or they can't go halfway either way. They either have to be extremely aggressive and make it so that you're basically forced to play the tier 2 players just to fit enough players in your lineup, which they really can't do halfway through the season because it's just going to wreck people's collections and just ruin people. Or the other thing is to go even less, basically make it so there's very, very few superstars, and then you have more decisions. Now you have I could play a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen or a Stephon Diggs or a Tyreek Hill or whatever, and it's just like, well, there's so many people I want to play, and there's just not the limitation is the amount of slots you have versus the number of superstars. But it's frustrating because they mentioned they might adjust it again, and we might see Kamara go in, and we might see DeAndre Hopkins go in, but I think they played it safe as far as people's sentiment. I think this was the right way to do it, not like just swap it around a little bit, make some cards more valuable, make some cards less valuable, and not like cause too much of a ruckus by making like too many swings in the market. But I'm really thinking that they should probably be going towards kind of what So Rare does, which is a fluid system where it basically is based off of your fantasy points that shifts week in and week out, and just do this is the max amount of player points that you can fit in your lineup, and it adjusts each week. And so based on that, you can and so it kind of creates a superstar tier, but it creates tiers all the way down, so you're trying to figure out which players are doing which will fit. And so that's what I'm thinking is just, I like the superstar system, but there's always going to be those players, unless you go extreme one way or another. There's always going to be those Hopkins, those Kamaras, those guys that like basically you're trying to jam in as many lineups as you can outside of it. And so for this season, I don't think they can do anything drastic, but it makes me hope that they do something different in the off season to at least adjust it, or come up with a secondary tier, like a superstar light or something like that. But what do you think, JJ?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you guys. I really like that idea, because all this really does is expand the pool just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You're going from maybe like 20 viable players to maybe 30 or 40 now, right? And I really agree with you, Derek, that they need to do something to make these lower tiers playable, right? Like, you're just absolutely not playing like outside of an injury, like a Philip Dorsett in the main slate, right? It's just not happening. Like, why would you ever do that unless there was this secondary or tertiary tier? Like, you can only play 2 of these players, and then the rest is fill in from the bottom of the pool. And I think that's a good idea. I like that they were light on the change, just like you mentioned, just because otherwise the market would have been just chaotic. It did adjust pretty drastically as a result of these few changes. So just imagine if they shook it up with 10 more superstars, or 10 more removed. What do you think, Boop?
I think it's coming. One of these weeks they're going to spring 10 superstars on us and call it 10 more superstars, call it a day, and make us all adjust on the fly. True DraftKings fashion. None of it will make sense. But,
I would say if they don't want to change their system, they like the superstar system. They don't want to adjust how players are scored. Next season, I would say, although it's more of a financial hit for people, doing the deep roster throughout the main slate would be the better way to go. Making that not just a weekly thing, but do it for the main slate as well, because that forces you to pay for defenses, for tight ends, the sheer amount of spots, the required running backs and wide receivers and a flex and everything like that, makes it so that there are some tier 2 players, especially if they keep the superstar system. You're going to, unless you play 1 or 2 lineups a week, if you're playing 20 lineups, you're going to have to dig into some of those guys that are only getting you 10, 15 points just because of the sheer size of the roster. But that would be my other option if they decide to keep the system, is do that.
All right, gentlemen, appreciate you touching on all the superstar adjustments. A lot of meat on the bone there here moving forward, and how it's going to impact things. We'll move into our next segment here, where we like to touch on the marketplace. It's still a marketplace game at the end of the day, as we like to talk every week. And our good production assistant behind the scenes here, Mr. Relic, has put together these awesome graphics week to week, kind of going through some of the weekly gainers and losers in the marketplace. So JJ, did you want to go ahead and take the lead here and talk us through what you're seeing?
Oh yeah, I mean, major headlines of the week was the superstar movements, and I think that you're seeing an adjustment in the market as a result of that, right? Obviously, Joe Burrow got the superstar tag, but also following the showdown game on Monday, so seeing kind of the rare double dub scenario that I talked about in previous weeks, right? Just kind of fallen off the map there. Minus $17 at core, $53 at rare, and $272 at elite. And a lot of these superstar players, the ones that you could just kind of Swiss Army knife between lineups and play them up a tier, like Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, also losing some market share there just because of how the superstar changes have affected them in your lineup construction. So on the flip side of that, you see DeAndre Hopkins, Dalvin Cook, and even CeeDee Lamb in some scenarios kind of rising up just because those were ones that either lost the tag or ones that, were maybe expecting to get the tag, but now that it's confirmed that they haven't, DeAndre Hopkins might jump into that kind of Stephon Diggs in the best play up option kind of role, right? So obviously there you see that the prices have adjusted accordingly for that reason. And then Christian McCaffrey, that's probably the one that stuck out as the one that kind of just is based on performance, had a massive, massive day out there with 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards, just crushing it and slotted right into the role, as well as Jeff Wilson Jr. just got traded. So probably cementing himself, I would say, as an RB1 or RB2 for the rest of the season. So you see that kind of get priced in there. Going into the individual tiers, at core, obviously we continue the downtrend of week to week, we see the adjustment in the floor prices as a whole. Again, we look at the momentum set as that is the cheapest set across all of them. And so just continuing the trend of cards decreasing in value. However, some highlights, right? Again, DeAndre Hopkins at the top of the board there, Diggs, just because, again, those two are just the best pay up options, followed probably by Kelsey, who's at number 3 there. And then Josh Allen highlights the top of the leaderboards there at the quarterback, just because of the matchup on the main slate. Probably the only surefire quarterback option of this main slate coming up. Mm-hmm. And then if you go through the tiers, not too much difference between core and rare. And then again, an elite, just kind of the same story being told there.
Beautiful rundown there, Mr. JJ. Thank you very much. Running through all the gainers and losers of the week. Lots of action. We'd like to move into talking through some underpriced and overpriced players that we're seeing throughout the marketplace. Did you guys want to touch on any of that, Jake, JJ?
Yeah, I can hop in here. I'm looking through wide receivers. I'm going by the elite tier right now. 'Cause that's kind of what I'm most comfortable with. That's where where I play at. So it's kind of the market that I watch the most. As far as underpriced players go, I'm going to go ahead with the rookie Romeo Dobbs. I forgot how you pronounce it. Dobbs?
Dubes. Everyone pronounces it different.
Dubes?
Yeah.
Can we just call him Doobie? That seems fitting.
Doobie. Well, he got me the dub. So it's Romeo Dobbs.
Oh yeah, JJ's guy, Romeo Dobbs. Over here at $154 for his elite. He faces the Detroit Lions this week, which is probably the best possible matchup you could have as a wide receiver. And it seems like he's trending up over there in Green Bay. He's had some struggles as a rookie, but he's also made some really nice plays. It seems like, Rodgers is starting to trust him more and more as his go-to guy. And I really think, these are the kind of guys I personally like to bet on, is these young guys, the rookies who can continue to ascend as the season goes on. We don't fully know what their talent is, what they can be, what their potential is. So that's a guy that I'm currently looking at. And another guy who I would say is a little bit overpriced is Darnell Mooney. Chase Claypool is over there now, over in Chicago. So I think he has a little bit more competition for targets in what is offense that does not pass very much at all. It's super run heavy now with Justin Fields, and they seem to be leaning into that lately. There's a ton of design runs. He's not throwing it too much. And now the target share is diminished even more now that Chase Claypool's over there. I do think that helps Justin Fields, but I think it hurts Darnell Mooney. His price $155. So it's a toss. It's, hey, do you want to go Dubs or you want to go Mooney? They're basically the same price. I would definitely lean Dubs there. What about you guys? Who are your underpriced, overpriced?
I love that because especially I'm overexposed to Green Bay players, and I'm going to throw another Green Bay player at you because I love throwing them into the mix here. Just Aaron Jones. I kind of was like expecting him to maybe get the superstar tag, but he didn't. Obviously he's got consistency issues, but the ceiling is just there when they use him, right? When they give him that usage, like you saw in the Buffalo Bills game, the Washington Commanders game. He's going to need, a touchdown or two to reach the ceilings, but at $420 at Elite, about $44 at Rare, and like $10 at Core, I think it's a good play off of the clear superstar options. And again, he's going to be in 3 more showdown games, and there's value to be had there when you know that they're just going to have to run the offense through him in those games. And then so on the other side, I'll kind of have a hot take here. I think Joe Mixon is just crazy overvalued. Still $500. I mean, that line cannot do anything, man. I mean, he's got a good floor, 12 points, maybe 8 points,
I just don't
maybe.
see him winning a tournament.
I don't see him getting 28 points, 30-point ceiling that you need out of a player, right? And so just can't see it. They lost a huge weapon in Jamar Chase, and I think that hurts the offense as a whole. And so I probably gonna be playing my Mixon Elite still, but definitely don't want to be paying for another one here.
Yeah, a lot of name brand value baked into that one. Big Theric, do you have any overpriced, underpriced players that you had your eye on?
Overpriced, I would honestly say DeAndre Hopkins in Rare. He is priced up at $140 right now. And that's basically saying he's going to be the best basically like the 3rd or 4th best player from here to the end of the season, or else you're losing money paying for that. And I do agree he's good. I wouldn't mind it if he was like 100. I think 100's perfectly fair for him. But when I see 140 for a decent numbered DeAndre Hopkins, I'm thinking there's no way that I make back 140 on him in the season unless I hit something huge. Like on average, I don't see him repaying that price. Although I'm not saying he's bad, I'm just saying that even for him, that's overpriced. Especially since we're on week 9 of the season. The underpriced guy that I have is actually Tom Brady. So the reason I say that is he right now is priced the same as Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, guys that have absolutely no chance of ever scoring anything other than maybe 15 points, where they don't they're just not that great of players. But Tom Brady still has Mike Evans, he still has Chris Godwin, he still has both Rashad White and Leonard Fournette. Problem is they're just not clicking as a team right now. And we saw, I believe it was last week or the week before, where Mike Evans dropped a huge touchdown and then he dropped another one later in the game. We've seen some significant drops that would have bumped Brady's score up 8-10 points if they had caught those balls. And so I feel like there's going to be a game where everybody's on the same page, everybody's vibing, the offensive line's playing a little better, and Brady puts up 350 and 3 or something like that, and it's just an amazing score.
I like it.
But he's priced like when you see he's priced the same as Matthew Stafford, you're just laughing like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Have you seen what the Rams versus the Bucks?
I was ready to.
We're about to this week.
Yeah, we're about to. I was ready to fight you on that one, but ultimately it's a chemistry kind of game, right? I think it was I can't forget who was casting. Chris Collinsworth maybe was talking about how Brady and his receivers haven't really played more than one game like consecutively together, and it really does come down to chemistry. And like you said, I think it's going to click eventually. And no superstar tags on any of those players, so exactly. Really good pickups, I think.
And I'm not saying that he's going to compete with like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying like he's not as bad as Matt Stafford and the Rams, and he's priced like that. So I would say
definitely undervalued. I would say you fell right in line with me there, Big Theric. I had Chris Godwin written down as someone that's still a little underpriced. He's still, in my opinion, in that tier 1 B class of receivers here. Obviously, that offense still needs to find its stride here. I think at some point they will, the Brady narratives notwithstanding. But I think in Elite, you can get him 350 rare, about $29. In core, about $6. I think there's room to grow there as the season rolls along here, right in line with your Tom Brady call. I think those go hand in hand as well. So I feel it. I like it. Good stuff all around, everyone. JJ, one spot that we've kind of been touching on a little bit more week to week are some of these late swap spots. Did you want to quickly touch on anything that's caught your eye this week from that standpoint?
Yeah, listen, there's weeks that I realized that, it's better to do like a 3+2 strategy where you have 3 in the early and then 2 in the late. And then there's weeks where it's either 4-1 or 5-0. This is a week, I think, where it's 4-1 or 5-0, right? There's only 2 games in the late slate. I can see an argument for maybe 3-2 if you want to fit a Kyler stack in there, maybe do some running back, wide receiver, and flex option that, just kind of sketchy T2, T3 options like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and then see if they pop off. And if they do, you got the leverage there and you could just slot in Kyler Murray and Hopkins. But otherwise, I think this is a clear, stack the early slate and maybe get 1 or 2 players, or sorry, 1 or no players from the late slate, right? You got Cooper Kupp going in the late slate. You got DeAndre Hopkins. You got the Bucks, but really not a lot of like slam dunk options in those teams over there. You don't have the Christian McCaffrey hammer or the Derrick Henry versus the Texans hammer, right? Nothing that stands out as obvious and must plays from those. And I really like some of these earlier games. So that's kind of how I'm playing it this week, is just the 4-1 or the 5-0.
All right, appreciate you touching on a lot of that late swap strategy, JJ. That's really important, and obviously a good way for us to find an edge week to week, depending on how the slate turns out. Those late swap spots are really valuable. So appreciate you always touching on that for us and our viewers. Speaking of stacks and games that we want to key in on, obviously we're trying to find points at the end of the day. And we'll kick it on over to Big Jake over here to talk through some of his favorite games and some of the things he's looking at with total movements and things of that nature. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, thank you. As you can see, we're recording live here during the Thursday night game. Eagles just put it on the Texans a little bit after slow start. But to get into the stacks, like I said last week, I always like to look at team totals. Vegas is usually pretty accurate with this stuff historically, because they are putting their money where their mouth is. So it's usually quite accurate in terms of what the team totals end up being, and using that kind of data really shows us where the points are going to be too. So personally, my favorite stack of the week, I was looking through and I was kind of having a tough time because there wasn't any major things. Like, I was going to go Packers, but there's not like elite guy at the Packers that outside of Rodgers. I guess Aaron Jones as well, but not any like elite receivers. I know I said Dobbs earlier, but he's not like top tier. I'm going to go with the Cardinals this week. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins showed out last week, and now they get a matchup with the Seahawks, who have been running up the score as well. I think that could be a very nice shootout over there in Arizona. And yeah, D-Hop and Kyler, and neither of them have the superstar tag either. So you can play them up in a contest as well. You can pair them with Cooper Kupp if you want to, or Devontae Adams, or any of these other superstar guys, and make quite a lineup out of it. And then also run it back with Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf or Kenneth Walker. There's a lot of nice options this week in that game. I assume it's probably going to be pretty popular from a DFS standpoint, and as Reignmakers as well. It's looking pretty juicy. What about you guys?
Yeah, I love that. I love that take on that game. That's actually one of the games that I'm probably just game stacking in general. I talked about the 5-0 and the 4-1, but then there's going to be this kind of other option of just playing like one player from the main early slate and then stacking that game. I think that I like that you're high on this game because I think a lot of people will remember the last time that this was a chalk game and it
was
burned
such
everybody.
a dud.
It just burned exactly, Theric. Like it just burned everybody. I mean, maybe Kenneth Walker was the only one that went off from that team, but I like that as the option. And Hopkins is one of my best late swap options, and love that game there. Yeah. But for me personally, I think, and I really don't want this to be true, I think the Dolphins and Bears game is going to play to the over. I just have this feeling Fields is just playing way better. I know Dolphins picked up a Bradley Chubb, really going to make a difference on the pass rush. But man, I just don't want to buy Justin Fields, but I might have to because I just see this game just popping off for some reason. And that's not the game that I'll be personally stacking. I'll be stacking the Vikings just because I like the narrative there. Kirk Cousins coming back to the team that scored him, but this Bears, they're just calling me. They're pulling me in.
Yeah,
I like it.
I feel you on that. We saw high scoring Bears, a very surprisingly high scoring Bears game with the Cowboys last week. So maybe we can get a repeat here with the Dolphins.
Yeah, and the Patriots too, right? Like they slaughtered the Patriots. I was shocked. And I don't know that anyone else was not shocked at that outcome.
Yeah.
How about you, Theric?
So I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path, and I'm going to actually say the Green Bay side of the Green Bay Detroit game is something I'm keeping an eye on. Definitely won't be my main stack, but the game total over under is 49.5. Green Bay is favored, and we all know what happens when you play the wonderful Detroit defense. And so doing something like Aaron Rodgers, who's not a superstar anymore, an Aaron Rodgers Dubes Aaron Jones stack with a Amon-Ra bring back, I think is a really interesting game stack. It's low probability to get there, but it easily could become a true shootout if they finally get things clicking. So that's something sneaky that I think not a lot of people are going to be on. I think everybody's just written off the Green Bay offense as just bad, and especially in Reignmakers, people aren't going to see the upside, even though we've seen Aaron Jones just brush on his own. So we'll see how much the terrible Lions defense affects Aaron Rodgers and Romeo Dubes, and if Rodgers can put up a 2 or 3 touchdown game, that'd be amazing.
That's fighting words. That's your team, Jake. That's your team.
I know. Well, hey, I'm not going to defend them at all. I was
well, they can't defend themselves either, right? I mean, they're allowing 30 points.
As you can see, I'm very aware that Rodgers is probably going to carve us up, as he's done year after year after year. It'll probably be a nice little get right spot for Rodgers.
Well, you see a completely inept offense versus a completely inept defense. Who's gonna bend and who's gonna break first?
Unstoppable object versus the immovable force, or something like that. Right, completely exactly the opposite.
I gotta ask you, Theric, because I'm struggling myself. Who do you stack Rodgers with? Do you just run him with nobody?
No,
Dubs,
and honestly, I would say a single stack with Aaron Jones and hope that. What you basically hope that he did what we've seen him do in several games where, oh my God, my receivers suck so bad. You're the only guy I can trust. I'm just going to throw screens to you and let you take them to the house.
Yeah. I don't hate that.
Yeah. There was that one play when the last time Aaron Jones went off, there was that one play where it's like nobody was catching anything. So he just throws it to the sideline to Aaron Jones and he just takes it the rest of the way.
And sometimes
it's like, there's one guy.
Sometimes it's just that easy, just a little backyard football.
So great. Watch it be a 2-touchdown Robert Tonyan game, though.
Oh God, don't even.
That's some DFS alpha.
Maybe.
What about you, Poop?
Yeah, great stuff. I think you guys covered most of it. I think the eyes lead me to the Chargers, right? First inclination, but then they've obviously got a huge injury situation. It is the highest total on the board, so you can't ignore it. But for Reignmakers, right, it's tough, right? Because you can't get Herbert and Eckler in there at the same lineup. So then you're kind of relegated to maybe some Gerald Everett and Josh Palmer, which maybe in DFS will be nice value plays. But I think for Reignmakers, might be just kind of out of the realm of realistic possibilities here. Another really unsexy one. I'm going to throw it out there just because, hey, F it. But, I think under normal circumstances, that Rams-Bucks game, I mean, it is buried down there on the total chart, right? It is buried.
Yeah.
It is low, but which was surprising to me looking through it. But pieces do fit there, kind of like what Derek and I were talking about, right? The Bucks offense has yet to really hit its stride. We got to hear more about the Cooper Kupp injury situation. There's some things to shake out there, but if you're looking to get a little sneaky with it, it's hard betting that against Vegas on this super low total game, but under normal circumstances, those pieces would fit. So I'll throw it out there as kind of a sneaky play.
I like it. I just totally forgot. This is a narrative game, right? NFC Championship rematch
right?
between these two teams came down
How
to
far
broken
we've
play.
come.
Yeah, now they're
wild.
they're so bad now. But this could, two bad teams meeting each other. They're not necessarily bad. They got high-powered offenses, just haven't put it together. And I could see this playing to the over now that you're talking about it.
Yeah,
that 42.5 is surprising.
That's crazy,
They definitely
right?
could revert more to the mean here. I mean, last year these two offenses this would probably be a 52 point
56,
total,
right?
For sure. Easy.
I'm honestly surprised that Tampa Bay is not more favored, but I know Rams defense is one of the few good things about the team, but I don't, especially if Cooper Kupp is out, that line is getting moved real quick.
Something to monitor. And
definitely something to monitor.
Poop, you mentioned Eckler. Can I just say, what are the Chargers doing over there that you can have a player show up on the injury report after a bye week where he was not on there before? Like, how does that happen?
Well, classic Chargers injury, situations would suggest that maybe, there's always some things going on behind the scenes there. But yeah, that's never a good thing. Midweek injury pop-ups. That's a good shout there. Forgot that he had actually popped up on the injury report this week. I think with an abdomen. I think that came in today.
Yes.
So that's
hopefully he just ate something that didn't agree with him.
Yeah, hopefully. But if it is a legitimate tweak, or sometimes the abdomen leads to like maybe a sports hernia or something like that. God forbid. We'll see how it shakes out. But you never like seeing a midweek injury pop up. Another thing to monitor, I think, going into the slate here.
Knowing the Chargers, he's out for the season.
Yeah, exactly. Probably punctured along or something like that. I didn't say that.
Do you buy Sony Michel?
God, no.
No. I mean, because they all, right, Sony probably get maybe some of the short yardage work and maybe some of the high value goal line touches, but Josh Kelly is a great back in his own right as well, and he'll probably shoulder some, at least I would imagine, some of that passing game role
once
along
he comes
the way
off
as well.
IR.
So
once he comes off IR, that's what I'm saying.
Is he on IR right now?
Yeah, there's no one else, right? I mean,
it was at this moment that he knew he.
And then another spot that I think that JJ has mentioned lightly as well is Minnesota. This is the first time this season that we're actually able to squeeze Cook and Jefferson into a lineup together. Up until this point, they've both been superstars. So I think that's enticing. I think it's a nice matchup versus the Commanders. You don't necessarily have to stack it with Cousins, but I think that's also in play if you really want to get a little down and dirty with it. But a good shout there, JJ.
Down and dirty.
And totally on board there. Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to get two guys like that in the same lineup.
I'm stealing that from you. That's my early possible late swap option. If I was to do a 3-2. If I was to do a 3-2, it's just, Jefferson, Dalvin Cook +1, and then swap in Murray and D Hop into the late if that goes off. So that's something that I'm looking at.
All right, fellas. Well, those were awesome takes on this week's slate of games. I don't think there's any disagreements there. A lot of good spots to take advantage of, and we'll see how it shakes out here into this week's slate of games. One segment that we really enjoy doing every week is our lineup challenge. For those of you that are new to our show here, we basically started with a bankroll of $50 and we rolled it into a core lineup, the lowest tier lineup for Reignmakers, to kind of show that you don't need to necessarily be a Reignmakers whale or have a lot of money in play week to week to have a successful lineup. So we'll kick it on over to Derek here, and he'll talk through our weekly lineup challenge lineup and some adjustments we've made along the way since last week. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, so last week we sold off a couple pieces, and went to from, I believe it was a Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk stack to a Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown stack because that game was looking really juicy. And it played out pretty damn well. We scored 122.6, put us in 449th out of almost 5,000 entries, so almost top 10%. Definitely more than min cash, although, you'd like a little bit more than $5, but I'm happy we were min cashing for a while and we're doing even better now. So that says our lineup is improving. And then we had to make a decision this week, which is to get rid of Christian McCaffrey, not because we don't like him. He crushed it last week. He put up 40 points, as you can see, but because he's on bye and we need to keep playing the lineup each week. So we sold him off. And this week, we're going to go with the same lineup, except we are going to be playing Austin Eckler.
Let's go.
And so this is going to be the lineup we go with this week. It's going to be a Jared Goff on St. Brown stack again. Hopefully they do great against Green Bay. Austin Eckler, as long as he plays this week, we may have to swap him out again if he's out. But if he plays this week, he's projected by far the best running back on the slate, so he should do well. Tyler Lockett's in a good spot again. And DJ Moore, while he may not have the ceiling of some of the others, he seems to have a really good floor now that he's basically the only good target on Carolina. So this should do well. We'll see. We need a few things to break our way, but if Eckler plays, this is going to be a pretty strong lineup. I'm pretty happy about it. We're still sitting on about, I think we have $3 or $4 extra on the side as well. So should be pretty sweet.
Go.
I like it. A lot of upside here.
Yeah.
I think it can, as we saw last week, I mean, we can put up some big points with these lineups. We can take something down with this lineup.
Yeah.
I think so. Come on, Eckler.
And each week, just keep improving, keep building, take the profits, put it into a new player, and just keep moving up. Stronger and stronger plays.
Love it. And I love his hitting on DJ Moore. It seems like right at the right time, too.
Yeah.
I think we played that really well. So couldn't agree more there. Love it. Anything else to add there, gentlemen? I think we're rolling right along, right? We keep cashing, we keep hitting the green, which is the point of this. And, I think we're giving us room to actually hit on something big here at some point along the way. And we also have, guys like Marquise Brown, like we like to mention, just kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for him to get healthy down the line. So that'll be another bullet in our chamber here as well when he gets healthy. All right, so another segment we like to touch on every week is our pack rip segment. Mr. Jake and Bake has donated many packs to this segment along the season. Mr. Jake, thank you very much for once again throwing one out there. Go ahead and talk us through what we have here, and hopefully the RNG gods are in our favor.
Yes, sir. My pleasure here. I'm donating all these packs because I am not winning first place in any of these contests, but getting close. We're getting there. We're getting the consolation prize. Hopefully we can get a real nice consolation prize this week here. We got an Elite Plus pack. 10% chance at a legendary here. If you didn't know, you can download the CSV to be able to see what players you have a chance of getting ahead of time. I went ahead and loaded that up here. There's quite a wide range here. Looks like we got a Kamara Elite in here. That'd be nice, as well as a Amon-Ra St. Brown and Eckler. There's some nice ones.
Is that an Etienne legendary?
Ooh.
Yep, it is.
Let's go. How about that up roll? Let's get it.
Yeah,
baby.
Damian Pierce, Debo,
Olave, CD,
another 100 yards.
Eckler. Game. Let's go.
Yeah, true. Singletary legendary. There's
you gotta hit once, man.
There's some good ones here.
You gotta hit once. You're due.
Feeling it.
You're overdue.
I think we are due. Let's get rolling.
It feels
rolling.
God, it feels good. Smells good. Tastes good.
Open her up.
Let's go. Big hits. Big hits.
Give it to us. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Elite.
The Elite.
Well, maybe he's the guy you need in week 17,
Hey, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe he overtakes as the number one guy and, starts putting up, just makes CEH nothing.
I'm sorry, Jake. I mean, come on, you're due, man. You're due.
I am due, man. I need to hit something good on here.
One of these times. But I think he is, definitely threatening for the number one role. I think some depth charts even have him at the top role.
I think he got the starting reps last week, right?
He definitely is one of those young, breakout running back candidates. As the season rolls along, I think he and like Rashad White are probably the two next in line to break out here at some point. Hopefully, we'll see. If he becomes playable in Reignmakers, we will see. But Jake, appreciate you ripping that pack for us. Nonetheless, one of these days, they're really gonna make us perk up and hit big. But until then, we will keep rolling right along. Very much appreciated, my friend. Thank you very much. On that note, that concludes this week's episode of Make It Rain. We are cruising right along in this NFL season and having a lot of fun doing it with you guys in the audience and everyone watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe here on this YouTube channel, on Twitter, on any of our social platforms. We really do like to engage with our audience, and hopefully we can kind of keep incorporating that more and more along the way. We're looking forward to bringing on some guests in future weeks and really keep the good times rolling right along. So appreciate everyone's support. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we will do our best to engage as best we can. Until next time, everyone, good luck in this week's slate of games, and let's make it rain. And if you're looking for more Reignmakers content, feel free to come join Metaverse HQ. We are a thriving NFT community where we like to touch on NFTs, crypto, all things Web3. We have a bustling thread in the community where we like to talk Reignmakers all day long. A lot of sharp minds in there talking some strategy. All of our links are in our description, in our bio across all of our socials. Go ahead and give us a look. Our token is on sale on OpenSea. Feel free to think about joining us along the way. Love to have you.